Welcome into another edition of Let's Bet It. I'm Alex Glaze. He's Jared Smith. Jared, I'm guessing because both of us are here doing this show, we are not the winners of the Mega Millions. We're not holding the $1 billion ticket. I know I'm not, so I'm assuming you're not
No,
as well. Correct? Yeah. So,
no, I'm not. I didn't even buy a ticket, frankly. I mean, I,
oh,
I
come
probably
on.
should
Are you
have,
serious?
but yeah, I was busy last night. I just forgot. I don't know. I mean, again, your odds of winning it are so low, but I understand why people did buy it. Someone did win though, so that person must be
One
having one
winner
hell of a
in
morning.
Illinois. One
One
winner in
winner.
Illinois.
1.28 billion. We talked about this before the show. I wouldn't really do that much differently with my life if I won that. Like I would put most of it away and I'd probably go on a trip and buy like a nicer house, but not like a
Put it away.
baller
You wouldn't even
house,
have to
like
put it away.
a
You
normal.
couldn't possibly spend $1.28
Couldn't.
billion dollars in a lifetime. I mean,
You
if
could
granted
not.
you took a lump sum, you would get probably half of that.
Yeah,
But
you
you
wouldn't
couldn't
get the
possibly
full.
spend that
Yeah.
in a lifetime. You couldn't. Like
I
that's
wouldn't get the lump sum. I think I would take the smaller
oh, you're
amount
crazy. Oh,
because
you're
again,
crazy.
I
You got to
wouldn't
take the
need
lump
it.
sum.
Why?
You got to take the lump
Why
sum.
would you need that much money? What are you
Take the
going to
lump
do with
sum.
that money? What would you do with it, Alex?
I don't know, but I'd figure it out. I don't know what I would do, but I'll tell you that I'd figure it out. That's what I do.
It's fair.
Yeah. Well, we got a lot to get to on today's show. We're going to obviously talk baseball better up. We got Matty Betts coming on as we look forward to tonight's UFC 277 card. Talk some NFL training camps as we got some QB battles going on in camp. And we're going to finish things up with our plays of the day. So, Jared, without further ado, let's bet it. And let's start with a trade. Actually, Luis Castillo acquired by the Mariners, who are looking to end their postseason drought. And I think the Mariners kind of surprising a lot of people with their success so far this season. I believe they're sitting second right now in the AL West and are very real contenders to be playing postseason baseball. So, what are your thoughts on the Castillo trade for the Mariners?
Yeah, coming into the season, it's funny because, I was surprised at this when I was looking at Seattle's odds coming into the season. They actually were not like a long, long shot. Like there was expectations around this team preseason. They were 22-1 when the season began back in April. And they dipped a little bit at the beginning of the season because they started off slow, but then right at around late May, early June, they started to go on this insane run, carried through the All-Star break, and clearly they are all in. And I mean, Jerry DiPoto went absolutely bananas with this deal. And the Reds got back a haul in return. Good for the Reds. Three of the top five prospects went to Cincinnati in this deal. And from what I was reading last night, Ken Rosenthal did the reporting. Great job, as always. The Yankees were close, but I don't think they didn't match what Seattle offered, which, I mean, Seattle's offer was really, really lavish. It was almost a Mega Millions type offer. So good for the Mariners. And now they are in the mix. Like yesterday, I viewed New York and Houston as really the only two teams with any chance to do anything in this postseason in the American League. Now I'd put Seattle as, let's say, half a chance with that rotation with Ray and with obviously Castillo, and they've got Flexen, and they've got some other decent pieces there at the top, Logan Gilbert, Marco Gonzalez. Like they've got five guys that at least can be in the
They give you
conversation
a chance.
against you. Yeah, they give you a chance. Now we'll see what happens in a 7-game series or a 5-gamer against the Astros or the Yankees, but at least now Seattle is in the conversation to win the American League pennant.
I like that. Well, we're talking American League. Let's talk about the AL MVP race because this one's interesting because I'm looking at the numbers here, and Aaron Judge is just, I mean, running away with this thing. But Shohei Ohtani, just is it voter fatigue? Is it what is it with him? Because this guy is just incredible and doing things that we've never seen done in the game before. But Aaron Judge is, I believe, minus 250 on FanDuel right now for AL MVP, while Otani's plus 240. I mean, what am I missing here?
So this has been a race I've kept a very close eye on this year. If you've been following the show and you're following the columns all season on Pickswise, I have Ohtani at plus 350. That I want to say I bet this back in probably like almost early May. And I think this is a bet. And the reason that I made the bet, let me actually get that date because that date does have context. Yeah, May 10th, I made a 2.5 unit bet on Ohtani to win MVP. And my thinking was he's at this point in his life cycle where he's getting so much attention on a nightly basis. His odds are not going to drop enough to where I'm going to lose a ton of value on this bet. And that part of the handicap has been right. The part of the handicap that I did not anticipate is once I made this bet. So I'll go back to the American League MVP odds. On May 10th, when I made the bet on Ohtani, Judge was like 15-1. I did not picture him having this kind of a season where he is going to probably surpass Roger Maris' 61 home runs. He is probably going to surpass a lot of other records that have stood for a long time in the American League, not named Barry Bonds, who's obviously did most of his work home run-wise in the National League. So no one expected Judge to have this kind of a season. It's not even August. He has 40 home runs. So that's the part of the handicap that I got wrong. And I think I'm at the point now where it's Aaron Judge. Like, I think it would take some kind of a collapse or injury for Aaron Judge not to win this award because of the type of season he's had. Maybe Ohtani's the best player top to bottom because of what he does on the mound, but it's really hard to ignore Judge's numbers this year.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Speaking of numbers that are hard to ignore, let's talk some trends. And let's do a little segment that we call Is the Trend Your Friend? So I got some trends here for you, and you tell me if the trend is your friend or not. All right. Let's talk some Blue Jays baseball right now. They are 9-1 to the under in their last 10 games. They are facing Detroit today. Is the trend your friend? Is the trend your friend for the under?
Man, tough to bet an under with this Blue Jays lineup. Let's look at the Nerfy sheet and let's see who's pitching today. Hutchinson, Stripling. Stripling's numbers actually are pretty decent, at least in the first inning. Hutchinson's a gas can. Under 9-1 in the last 10 against Detroit. That trend's too random for me. They only face Detroit 6 times a year. So that means that a lot of these numbers are going back to, 2020, 2021. So no, I'm not befriending that trend. Also, the Blue Jays had a rough day offensively yesterday. So bounce back today.
Got you. All right. Well, this is a trend that you submitted here. So I want you to explain this one to the people here. Teams that are minus 300 or longer favorites in baseball are 15-24 on the run line this season. $100 bettors are down over $1,000. That's hard to believe.
Yeah, this is an important trend down the stretch. Here's why. You're going to see a lot of games with teams like today, Yankees, Royals. One team, everything to play for. Another team, nothing to play for. Blue Jays, Tigers, same situation. You are going to see in August and September a ton of minus 300 favorites in these situations. That is going to be something you do not want to bet on a nightly basis. Because what have we seen this season with these big, I'm calling them chalk monsters? It's losing money. You might, like yesterday, for example, we had 2 of these. Yankees and Tigers were both $3, $4 favorites. 1-1. So even if you bet the money line, you lost money, even though you went 1-1. If you bet the run line, both teams were minus 1.5, laying juice on the run line. You lost money. So even though the Yankees covered, the Tigers, the Blue Jays obviously didn't against the Tigers. So I think when you look at these big favorites on a nightly basis, you're scanning the board, you're trying to get a parlay, you're trying to put a bunch of, money lines together and, win a bet, because you're not going to lay 350 on your own. You're going to parlay it with something. It's not hitting consecutively. These big favorites have not really come through on the run line or the money line this year consistently enough to bet them every night. So I would stay away from them completely. Or obviously you take the 1.5, which is dangerous. It's risky, but that has been the more profitable side of these chalk monsters, as I'm calling them. So if you want to take plus 1.5 with the Royals today, plus 1.5 with the Tigers today, both are plus money. Odds are you hit one and you finish the day at least 1-1 for up, ROI on the day. So that's how I've been approaching these big favorites. Just be very careful laying big juice on a nightly basis.
Yeah. All right. We're gonna come back to baseball in just a minute. You got to walk your way parlay, and then we got some other picks about. But let's bring in Matty Betts here and talk some UFC as we get ready for tonight's UFC 277. Amanda Nunes and Juliana Pena. A little rematch here tonight. Matty Betts, what's going on?
What's up, guys? How's it going?
Great
How are we
stuff,
feeling?
Matty. Good to see you, bud.
Doing
This
good, man.
is-
I'm excited.
Matt, I got to intro you properly. Matty Betts, UFC handicapper and founder of We Bet Media, and you gave out some winners the last time we had you on. Before our guy Sugar Sean, with the eye pokes and some sketchy stuff going on there, we were feeling good, and then that happened. So looking forward to Sugar Sean getting back in here. But we got a good card tonight here. Let's start with Pena and Nunez here. Rematch here, obviously. Pena, the winner last time, but plus 225 tonight. Do you see some value with her over Nunez tonight?
Yeah, so I look at this fight two ways. So you can make the argument that there's value on both sides. So it's actually interesting because champs, so in this scenario, Nunez or Pena is actually, or just fighters in general, are 11-2 when they're repeating as a champ, or when they're having the ability in the immediate rematch to win again. So you're saying to yourself, okay, I can get a dog at plus 240 or plus 230, and typically those underdogs are 11-2. But with that said, this is Amanda Nunez, considered the female GOAT, and I really like her in this fight. I just think that this is a once in a lifetime spot to get someone like Amanda Nunez at only minus 275. She was literally minus 1100 in the first fight, and she gassed out in the second round. So in my opinion here, at minus 275, probably a good parlay piece. My favorite prop on this fight is Amanda Nunez by submission. You can get that at plus 500. Juliana Pena, her last two losses have been by submission. Amanda Nunez is the stronger fighter, in my opinion. I think she's going to be smarter this time around. She's going to stand behind that jab on the feet. She's going to get this fight to the ground, and I think she submits her in the second round. So I believe that Amanda Nunez can get it done this time around. Now, with that said, that one stat or that trend, whatever you want to call it, it is a little scary. And also, Pena's confidence is a little scary. You know, she is super confident. She was confident in the first fight, and she backed it up. And she's extremely confident in this fight as well. And people will make the argument you have to wonder about Nunez's just overall commitment at this point. She's accomplished so much, and what her motivation is. So there's an argument for both sides. I see both sides of it, and I can see how someone can say, oh, there's value on Pena, there's value on Nunez. At the end of the day, I like the value on Nunez here for sure.
I'm also seeing
so crazy.
Nunez. I'm also seeing Nunez in round 2 on your card at plus 450. Can you kind of walk me through that?
Yeah, so maybe I look stupid here. Maybe she'll come out and just finish her in that first round. But I think she's going to reserve her energy a little bit this time around. She gassed out in that second round. She was just, I think of Amanda Nunez, she's so used to just coming out and just knocking out her opponent in the first round or two. And in that first fight, you know, Pena showed that she's durable. That's a small prop for me. I like the submission prop better because over the course of a 5-round fight, I think Nunez is going to be smarter this time around. She's going to get the fight to the ground. She's not going to gas out. There's no chance that Nunez gets submitted unless she's tired. Like that, in my opinion, I just can't see Pena submitting her unless she gassed out or unless she gasses out like she did in the first fight. So I do think Nunez wins in the second round would be my guess. But I do like the overall prop of her winning by submission in the fight. It could be a parlay piece if you just like her on the money line.
Yeah, one more thing on this. You know, obviously it's the main event, so it's the most important fight of the night or one of. Is it rare for a champion like Pena to be such a big underdog in a title fight like this? Or is this, you know, are the books basically telling you, listen, go ahead, bet all the Pena money you want because she's not winning this? Because if I see this as a novice UFC bettor and I say, wait, she's got the belt and she's plus 230, yeah, I'll take a piece of that.
Yeah, so I've seen underdogs, you know, with the belt, but typically they're like plus 120 or plus 150. I mean, she's over a 2-1 underdog here, so it is rare. But again, it's Amanda Nunez is widely considered the female GOAT. So I think it's a value spot for Amanda Nunez. But again, The one argument is she's now 34 years old and everyone's questioning her motivation. She changed her training camp and gym and all that stuff. And so there's a lot of question marks there, but I believe she comes in shape and she just has to fight smarter this time. I think it's a total mismatch, and it should have been the first fight. I mean, nobody had Juliana Pena. She was like plus 700 or 800 in that first fight, whatever the number was. So it was one of the biggest upsets in UFC history. So it'll be super interesting to see how it plays out here today.
Let's talk through that other fight. Brandon Moreno and Kai Kara-France here, the other big fight on this card here. You are fading Kai Kara-France, one of my guys. So I'm gonna need you to sell me on why I need to look the other way, because Kai Kara-France, let me tell you, there are a couple guys that I would consider my guys, and he's one of them.
Bro, it kills me to fade Kai Kara-France. I took him in his last 2 fights. I took him to win by knockout 2 fights ago, and I won that. And I took him on the money line last fight, and he was an underdog against a top 5 guy in the division. And the problem is I just think Brandon Moreno is like the worst possible matchup for him. He's got the reach advantage. He's got 5-round cardio. He just keeps coming off of 3 straight 5-round fights. And Kai Kara-France, on the other hand, isn't proven in a 5-round fight. And I just think, Kai Kara-France, his only path to victory here, in my opinion, is a knockout. And Moreno has one of the toughest chins in the UFC. So I just think that the logical pick here is Moreno's going to win 3 or 4 of the 5 rounds, and it's going to go the distance. So I do like Brandon Moreno. I think it's plus 125 or what's the number here? Plus 160 to win a decision. So I do like that number.
He's a $2 favorite, and you think this fight's going to be close. So
yeah, it is a 5-round fight. Now some people do like Moreno by submission, but Kai Kara-France's his defense has gotten really good over the past few fights. So he's really improved in that regard. He has been submitted a few times in his career, but if you look back at his record, it's been a while now. He's coming off a performance in a 3-round fight against a really good grappler, and he didn't get submitted. He gave up his back a couple times, but he defended it really well. I think this is a 5-round war on the feet. I don't even think it's going to hit the ground. I think both guys want to stay on the feet here. And I think Kai Kara-France is going to be looking for the knockout, whereas Moreno will just outpoint him over 5 rounds, would be my prediction. But I hate going against Kai Kara-France. I've taken him every fight, and I hate doing this.
Should be a good one, man. When these heavyweights get in the ring, Matty, it's electric. Derek Lewis tonight, Sergey Pavlovich, and Lewis is the higher ranked fighter, at least according to UFC's site, but he's the underdog here. Sell me on Derek Lewis.
Yeah, so he's 0-2 in his last 2 fights in Texas, and this fight is in Texas, and there's this like stigma around him of like, yeah, he melts under pressure in his hometown. When he fought Cyril Gane, yeah, and people love him in Texas. I mean, the crowd is going to be electric for him today.
Yeah.
So here's my thing with Derek Lewis. It's so tough to predict his fights, but I literally think this fight is a coin toss. So I'm taking the plus money here. I actually think Lewis has the much faster hands. So I think in an exchange he could catch him. And I think it's BS how everyone's talking about how he melts under pressure and loses in Texas. He fought Tai Tuivasa and Cyril Gane in Texas. Those are 2 guys that are literally fighting in the upcoming months, and whoever wins that fight is going to fight for the belt. So, Cyril Gane is a top 2 guy in the world in this division. Tai Tuivasa is a top 4 guy in the world, in my opinion. So Sergey Pavlovich is not proven. He's coming off of 3 straight first-round finishes. But if Derek Lewis fought all 3 of those guys, he would have finished him in the first round as well. So I got to go with Derek Lewis to redeem himself in Texas here. If you want a little more plus money on it, take him on a knockout at plus 160. But at the end of the day, I'm just going to take the money line here, play a little safe in case he does have a couple decision wins on his resume, which I think that's like plus 800, which would be crazy. But I'm just going to play it safe here, take him on the money line at plus 120, just because I think that this is a coin toss type of fight. So,
Matty, we got a question here from somebody in the chat. How do you feel about the newcomer, Hamdy, pulling off the upset tonight?
I stayed away from it on my card, honestly. I definitely think it's possible for sure, but I stayed away from that fight in general on my card.
Got you. Got you. You got one more on the card here. I'm not even going to attempt this name.
Let me
But you
guess.
do have
Magomed Ankalaev?
Yes. That's exactly how I was going to say it as well. So walk us through that pick, because I believe that is another light heavyweight fight as well, correct?
Yeah. So I'm taking him. I like him by decision here. He's 3 straight decision wins in the UFC. Anthony Smith's going to try to make it a brawl here. But I think that Magomed Ankalaev, he's going to make this fight boring. He loves doing that. The UFC hates it. But he's going to use them kicks at distance. I think he's going to piece him up on the feet. I think he's going to want to stay away from the wrestling and the ground here with Anthony Smith, but I just think he's going to make this fight super boring and win a unanimous decision. That would be my prediction there. And the odds makers think that's going to happen too. I mean, usually if you take a guy on a specific outcome, you're going to get plus money, but the fact that this is minus 105, it's the most likely outcome.
Got you. Matty, before we let you go, I noticed you are wearing an Eagles hat here, so I got to ask you here, with your Eagles at plus 3,000 to win the Super Bowl.
Oh,
I
man.
believe
I didn't know you were an Eagles
odds
fan,
to win.
man.
I mean, just how are we feeling about the Eagles? How are we feeling about Jalen Hurts this season? I mean, you got to be optimistic, right?
I'm very optimistic that they win the NFC East. I would be a little bit of a homer if I said they're going to win the Super Bowl, but I do think they're going to beat Dallas in the NFC East. And if you want a really crazy bet, take Jalen Hurts to win the MVP at 25 to 1.
Oh, no.
Oh, you're
that's
nuts.
where you lost me. That's
Hold
where
on,
you
that's
lost me. That's it.
That's more of a homer pick than the Eagles to win the Super Bowl.
That probably is. You're right.
Great job,
right,
man. Really good UFC stuff.
Yeah, appreciate you as always. We will continue to bring you back for UFC stuff. NFL.
Appreciate you, bud.
Thank you as always, Matty. Looking forward to tonight's card.
Appreciate you guys. Thanks for having me.
Have a good one. All right, Jared, let's get back to baseball. Talk about this walk this way parlay.
Do it, baby.
What you got?
What do you want? You want the big boys first, or you want the small guys first? We'll do the juicy ones first.
I want the big boys
first. All right. So we'll start with Nick Pivetta. This is the juiciest of the juicy, but listen, the numbers here they're just slapping me in the face that we're still getting value on this bet. So Pivetta's minus 210 today for over 1.5. I know that sounds crazy. Minus 210. It's so juicy. But 75% hit rate this season. 75% if you include last season. And 75% is minus 300 odds. So you're telling me that at minus 210, I still see value here. And then if we look at the Red Sox lineup, the Brewers lineup, obviously Pivetta pitches for the Red Sox. The Brewers lineup, 19 of the last 25 righties have gone over this number. So even that's a 75% hit rate. So all of the hit rates, all of the trends in this particular bet are telling me minus 300 is fair price. So we're laying minus 210. I'll give you Chris Flexen. He's another juicy one too. Over 1.5 at minus 170. But again, I'm seeing Flexen's hit rates at over 70% on the season. That's right at around minus 260, minus 270 odds. 19 of the last 25 starters on the right-handed side, right-handed starters, have gone over this number against the Astros. Again, that's still telling me minus 300 odds, and we're only laying 70 cents. Now, here's the kicker with this one. And this made me really like Flexen a lot, even though the market, I think, has moved against them a little bit so far this morning. I think you can get Flexen at minus 160 now. So the Mariners and the Astros, first of all, this game's going to have a little juice to it after the Mariners made their trade yesterday, and this is one of the last times these teams will play this year. So far, they have played 17 games this season. Of those 17 games, 10 Mariners starters over 1.5, all 8 at Minute Maid Park. 8-0 over 1.5 walks, Seattle starters at Minute Maid Park this year. I can't explain it. That is the trend. I'm just giving you the information. So we'll go over 1.5 on Flexen. Finally, I like Kyle Freeland over 1.5 tonight against the Dodgers. This game is at Coors Field. Freeland, 58% hit rate on the year. That's about minus 138 odds. So there's a little bit of value there with this bet. He has gone over in both of his home starts against the Dodgers this year. In fact, there have been 8 Rockies-Dodgers starters at Coors Field against LA, and 5 of them have gone over. Lefties in general against the Dodgers, a great trend. 17 of 25 over this number. And overall, the Dodgers have the second highest walk rate against lefties on the season. The parlay pays plus 322. We'll give it to you one more time. Pavetta, Flexen, Freeland, all over 1.5. Good luck, Godspeed.
Love it. Love it, love it, love it. All right, before we get to plays of the day, we got to talk some NFL shop because we got some quarterback battles here. In some cities with some teams that haven't had quarterback battles in quite some time. Well, two of the three at least. So let's start. Who do we want to start with here? Let's start with the Panthers.
Over to Carolina.
Sam Darnold battling for his job with Baker Mayfield. What do you make of that QB battle? Because to me, it's just kind of like mediocre versus mediocre. So it's not really – it doesn't really mean a whole lot because at the end of the day, I think that Matt Corral is eventually going to at least have a shot. Maybe not this year, but next year. I think they're kind of setting him up for kind of like the Trey Lance, kind of just take a seat, learn the playbook, sit back, get used to the NFL system. But Matt Corral, I'm really high on him as an NFL quarterback. I don't know if that's crazy or not. But what do you make of Darnold versus Mayfield for the starting job this year in Carolina?
Yeah, I mean, it looks like they're splitting reps right now from what I'm seeing. Yesterday, Rule said Baker's going to get the first team reps. Sam Darnold took the first team reps Wednesday. Baker's going to take them a little bit later. So it does look like right now there is no leader in the clubhouse, at least not publicly. Corral's, listen, I don't hate that take because I do think he has a lot of talent. I just think his body is not NFL ready. So I think he's in a good situation where he shouldn't be playing this year. And I don't think he will because he's coming off that. I remember his last moments in college football.
We don't need to talk about that. We don't need to talk about the bowl game.
It was rough.
That hurt.
Yeah, it did. I'm sure anyone who had bets on him in that bowl game didn't love it either. But I think Corral's going to be a red shirt this year, and I think you're going to see Baker and Sam battle it out. If you had to, if I had to say, okay, Jared, you have to pick one of these guys to be the starter right now, I would pick Baker because I think they traded him for a reason. They traded for him for a reason. If they felt like Sam could handle it, they wouldn't have brought Baker in. So I think Baker's going to get maybe the first crack, and then we'll see what Sam does. If I had to bet today who's going to be the starter day one, I would pick Baker. We
go from mediocre versus mediocre to less than mediocre versus less than mediocre in Seattle, where we got Drew Lock versus Geno Smith in Seattle. And, I mean, my goodness. You go from Russell Wilson to these two options here. I mean, you got to roll with Geno as the week one starter, right? Considering what he did when he came in last year for you in those spots when Russ was injured. Drew Lock, we've seen what Drew Lock is. I don't like it at all. You got to roll with Geno as the week one starter if you're in Seattle, right? And you're not going to make any moves.
Totally agree. I think from what I'm reading here, it looks like Geno's getting most of the first team reps. And again, at this stage of the preseason,
I mean,
it makes sense. But at this stage of the preseason, it's hard to really take anything from that because Drew Lock did get some first team reps. Not all of them went to Geno, but most of them went to Geno. And that is telling. Whereas Baker and Sam are kind of splitting days, it looks like Geno's getting the lion's share of the reps every day, and then Drew Lock's getting a few reps. And I think now granted, the Seahawks and the Panthers might run their practices different. I'm not there. I don't know. I'm not a team insider. But from my view, if you're giving one guy all the reps one day, then the next day another guy gets the reps, that is in one bucket compared to, all right, Geno's getting 8 out of 10 snaps as the starter, and then Drew, here you go. Here's your 2. Here's your bone.
I agree.
To me, I think that is telling.
It's also early in camp, so we'll see as we get closer to the season what's gonna, it'll start to.
I agree, though. I think Geno's the starter day one. Again, if we had to pick a guy to start day one, I'll go Baker in Carolina. I'll go Geno in Seattle.
I think the most interesting battle is the one that we're going to touch on right here in Pittsburgh, where, obviously Hall of Famer Ben Roethlisberger retires, and now you're in a situation where you have Mitch Trubisky and Kenny Pickett battling it out. And I think that is actually very interesting because for me, Trubisky has to prove that he is an NFL quarterback, right? This is the spot where he has to prove it. I mean, it's been time for him to prove it. And then Kenny Pickett, I mean, new kid on the block, drafted, rookie. I mean, I don't think you could walk into a better situation as a rookie quarterback because, you look at the weapons Pittsburgh has on the offensive side of the ball. I mean, and the defensive side. That's a complete team. Solid coaching staff. That's a great situation for him. I'm not sure how I see that QB battle playing out because if I'm going by talent, I think Kenny Pickett's the more talented quarterback, but we haven't seen him in the NFL. That's what I'd say. It's a completely different game. So what do you make of that QB battle? To me, I think that is going to be the most interesting one to watch this preseason.
So in minicamp, and again, this was minicamp, Trubisky was 1 and Rudolph was 2, and Pickett got the 13 reps. Again, that was minicamp. OTAs are different than preseason. Maybe, we'll see Trubisky not get all the first team reps in the preseason. Maybe we'll see Kenny Pickett get a slice. I haven't seen that yet. To me right now, it looks like Trubisky's the guy, unless he does something to screw it up, which very well could happen.
It's Mitch Trubisky.
But again, week 1, I think Trubisky's the guy. And then I think they go from there and we move forward through the season. But I do think Trubisky's going to get a shot here. I do.
All right. Well, we're going to have to keep an eye on all things NFL related, quarterback related, because season will be here before we know it. And man, it just feels good to have football back on the timeline. You know what I mean? Like scrolling and seeing camp
August
videos.
Next week. August. Oh, keep an eye. Speaking of camp. Now, again, I don't want to go too much into training camp and overlook things, but we keep talking about Tyreek Hill moving to Miami. Oh my God, Patrick Mahomes, what is he going to do? Keep an eye on Juju Smith-Schuster. This dude's lighting up Chiefs training camp right now.
I saw,
and I saw all the talent in the world. Just hasn't had a quarterback that can throw him the deep ball in the last couple of years. I think with Roethlisberger's arm going off the deep end there. I could see Mahomes getting a lot out of Juju Smith. That's an anytime touchdown bet.
I think we forgot Juju's like that dude, between the TikToks and him not getting a real shot because of Big Ben's arm. But I'm excited to see that. Excited to see that.
Yeah.
All right, before we get into plays of the day, let's talk some PLL.
Love the PLL. Love the lax, right? All right, speaking of love, we got to give some love to Charlie White, who is 5-1 in his last 2 game weeks, picking PLL on the site. He has 3 more best bets on the Pickswise site this week. For game action, not a bad slate. Archer's Atlas, that's 2:00 today on the plus. Nick Zaroya, our pal, has the over in that one, 25 and a hook. Chrome Whipsnakes, that's later today, also on the plus. Charlie White, under 23 and a hook. That's a 2-star play on the site. And then we got 2 more games tomorrow. Actually, the Archer's Atlas game is on ESPN regular, like the original. So not even on the plus. It's on ESPN, like the ESPN. And then 2 more games tomorrow, 1:00, 3:30 Eastern. All of those games are on ESPN plus. But there's a lot of action on the site. PLL continues to be a very exciting venture. And check out all of the Pickswise columns with plenty of picks for you.
Love it. Love it. All right, plays of the day. We got a 3-star play on the site before we get to your play.
Yeah, so I think someone had we got an MLS play on the site. That's it. Liam Flynn, Union Dynamo. If you're interested, there is a 3-star play. And also keep an eye on Tony Finau this weekend. Diane Knox-Ballas came on the show earlier in the week, gave you Tony Finau at 16-1. He is now currently, I want to say he was like a coin flip odds when I looked at he's plus 165 to win the tournament now. On Saturday. So as usual, Diane's got another outright in the mix. She's really good at picking these golf outrights, man. So keep an eye on Finau today. And this weekend, I guess. Today and this weekend.
Yeah, definitely something to keep an eye on. All right, what's your play of the day? What you got?
Yeah, so I'm going with a Nerfy today. I've been ice cold with the Nerfies. So you want to fade me? I don't blame you. I've been cold. The one thing I've learned about these bets over the course of a long season, you get hot, you get cold. I had one point where I hit like 9 in a row. Now I've like lost 9 in a row. So just be mindful of that. And the price matters more than anything else. And that's why I like this Brewers Red Sox Nerfy today at plus 110. Eric Lauer, we talked about Pivetta during the Walk This Way segment. Well, he's been pretty good on the Nerfy side. He hasn't been good on the walk side, but Nerfy side, Lauer and Pivetta combined 30 and 8 on the season. If you take their big sample size since 2019, their combined Nerfy rate is about 70%, which is about average. So you're telling me I get plus 110 odds on 2 average pitchers. I will take that because, again, I think that's a plus EV bet. Now let's look at the lineups. Well, no JD Martinez still for the Red Sox. They have the 6th lowest run scoring rate in the first inning at home this season. They have not been a good starting team at Fenway Park, scoring at just 23.5%. That's well below the major league average. Meanwhile, on the other side, the Brewers are also slightly below average on the road this season at 26%. And Pivetta's got really good numbers against the top of this Brewers lineup. 3 for 11 combined with 3 strikeouts against Adames, Yelich, and Tellez. So I like the matchup here. You get 2 average starting pitchers against 2 below average lineups, and I'm getting plus 110 on the Nerfy. Feels like a fair bet. There's another Nerfy bet on the site as well that I would certainly recommend. Our Nerfy dudes are killing it on Pickswise this year. So I would keep tailing those guys every night. The other one's in Minnesota, San Diego. Keep an eye on that one. But my best bet of the day, along with my buddy Keith Schmelter, does a great job with this stuff. Brewers, Red Sox, Nerfy, plus 110.
Love it. You're taking like the Zeno approach to plays of the day now. Just get it over with. You just want to know by like 7:25.
I'm sick of watching a 4-hour baseball game. I don't know about you. I'm ready for a 4-hour football game.
I'm with you. All right, my play. I'm going back to a guy that has burned me before, but if you don't learn your lesson the first time, maybe I'll learn it this time. Ranger Suarez. Over 4.5 strikeouts tonight. He's not a strikeout guy. I get that, but I'm looking at this Pirates lineup and I can't resist. It's hard to ignore how bad the Pirates have been at the plate this season. The 2nd worst strikeout rate in baseball. 1 of 3 teams averaging over 9 strikeouts per game. Listen, Suarez he just hasn't gone long in his last couple outings, right? Just 5 innings in each of those last 2 outings. Under 80 pitches in his last outing against the Braves. Under 65 pitches against the Marlins. But he had 4 strikeouts in each of those outings. So I'm looking at this as maybe we get more than 5 innings out of Ranger Suarez. Maybe we get him to show something against this bad Pirates lineup. I just need 5 strikeouts. So I think that it's a good price. I believe minus 128 on FanDuel. Ranger Suarez. I can't believe I'm trusting this guy, but that's my play of the day. Ranger Suarez. 0 for 4 strikeouts.
Ranger Rick. Get across the finish line. It's crazy for our buddy AG.
Hold on. So Zach Wheeler the other day, this over 6.5 strikeouts. I couldn't get there, and obviously he blew past that. But I look at Ranger Suarez and I'm like, So I don't want to bet on Wheeler, but I like Suarez. So that lets you know how my brain works.
Wheeler's been great this year. Wheeler's a guy we should be taking seriously for the NL Cy Young. I'll give you another random one before we leave because it's only 10:39. We want to give out picks, right? Paul Blackburn has been an absolute gas can over his last few starts. His earned runs prop today is 2.5. He is at the White Sox. He gave up 10 runs against the Rangers in his last start. 5 runs prior to that. He's given up 21 earned runs in his last 3 starts. Oh, wow. The White Sox have been kind of coming on a little bit lately offensively. So I would, if you want a bonus play of the day.
Bonus play?
Paul Blackburn over 2.5 earned runs. Again, I'm sorry for throwing this on Jacob and
Justin is on the background.
But yeah, he's freaking out right now. Oh my God. Paul Blackburn over 2.5 earned runs, laying 30 cents over at DraftKings. I think that's a tremendous bet today. I would actually parlay Blackburn and Pivetta's walks prop. Those are like my 2 favorite on the board today, pitcher props. because, they're both pretty juicy. Minus 200, minus 210 on Pavetta, minus 130 on Blackburn. But if you parlay both of those babies together, it's like plus 160. I would absolutely make that parlay. Pavetta over 1.5 walks, Blackburn over 2.5 earned runs, or just bet Blackburn solo because he's a freaking gas can right now.
Love it. Love it. All right. That'll do it for us today. For Jared, I'm Alex. Good luck with your plays tonight. We will be back on Monday. 10 a.m.